So we're gonna wait to see if Sarah is on her way. The city clerk, and Sue is here, and she will swear you in before the meeting starts. But we're just gonna wait to see if the fifth member comes in. First. Wait a few minutes. Oh, that's probably
Cynthia.
Is that her?
No, it's Cynthia.
Cynthia. Ah, okay. You must be Sarah.
I am.
Hi, okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
So as I just mentioned, and Sue, the city clerk, will now swear you in as the new library board members.
So before we officially start the library board meeting, welcome and congratulations to all of you for either your reappointment or your appointment to the library board. If all of you would please rise and raise your right hand and repeat after me. And I have the language up here in case if you need it. I, and please state your name,
I, Sarah Levin,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Please have a seat, and I'm going to have you sign your oath.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Well, welcome and congratulations to you all. So we will start the meeting. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Isabelle Leduc, and I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Albany. And I am new also in this role as the the staff liaison to the library board. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm sure we'll have a great year together. So I will go ahead and start with the roll call. Member Gary? Janelle, last name? Yeah, Gary. Okay. Member Levin?
Hi.
Yes. Member Appel? Yes. Member, is it Zing? How do you pronounce your last name?
It's like Sing.
Singh. Okay, thank you. And members Stapleton Gray.
Here.
Great, thank you. So for the approval of the minutes, I believe the members who were present at the meeting, yes, okay, can approve the minutes. So I will look to a motion.
I move to approve the November meeting minutes.
Okay, and not quite sure what we're going to do for the second, but okay. Great. Okay, are there any public comments? No? Okay. So now we are in the part of the meeting where we can, the staff and board members can make some announcements. So my suggestion would be to, maybe for each of you to introduce yourselves and your interest in the library board and experience. Whatever you want to share about yourself would be great. Would you like to start?
I'll start. I'm Amy Appel. I am a librarian. I am not currently practicing as a librarian, but my most recent library job was at Oakland Public Library, where I worked with Cynthia Hegedus, formerly of the library board. I was working in technical services, not public service, but I have also done reference work in libraries before. And I live in Albany. I'm delighted to be part of the community of the library.
Good.
My name is Janelle Gary. Moved here to Albany with my husband. I currently work as a program manager within a Joint Powers Association, 21 cities. Albany is one. And I've done various outreach ministries, tutoring, mentoring programs I've developed in the communities. I've been working with youth from probably when I was a teenager. So I love literacy, the importance of understanding that we need to have a library, and I enjoy going to the library. I get discouraged when I see bookstores and library closed because it's so important to have them in our community. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm glad that I was chosen to be a part of this board.
My name is Sarah Levin, and this will be my 5th year on the board. I'm a high school librarian at an independent school in San Francisco, and I've lived in Albany for 10 years and just love being able to be on the board, and I love our library.
Ross Stapleton Gray was a school board member in the for the last 4 years. Am a technology and policy person sort of by training, and as of very, very soon will probably be reemployed in a tech job in San Francisco. Am the manager of the little free library out in front of our house. But I've been an information technology and policy guy sort of all my life, and greatly interested particularly in the intersection of the schools and the library.
My name is Becky. I attend Albany High School. I got really interested in the library board because I go to the teen library board meetings at the public library, which happens monthly usually, and I've done a lot of events with a high school club called Key Club with the library, so I really enjoy the atmosphere of the library and wanted to affect it and share my voice.
Great, thank you. And thank you so much for speaking into the microphone. The meeting is voice recorded and will be available on the website, on the city website afterwards. So we have no presentations this evening, so we will move to discussion and possible action on matters related to the following items. So the first item is the election of officers. The board will nominate and select chair and vice chair. So we will start with the nominations for the chair of the library board. So this is a one-year appointment, and let's go for it.
I think we should elect Sarah to be the chair, given her previous experience.
I agree. agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Should I move that?
Yeah, yes, if you could
so
make a
I
motion.
I make a motion, yeah.
Motions, okay, great. And all in favor? Aye. Great, okay. Now we will, nominations for the vice chair. You can also self-nominate if you would like.
I would nominate myself.
Okay, great,
I'll second that.
okay. Are there any other other nominations? No? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay. So, Sarah, you're free to, if you want to continue to lead the meeting.
Sure.
That would be great.
So we'll move to an overview of the library board charge.
Yes, so I also had to learn a little bit about the library board charge, and I have some notes here that I would like to share with you. So the charge of the library board is to advise the city council on matters relating to the Albany branch of the Alameda County Library System, with a specific focus on the review of the annual proposed contract between the city and county for library services. The library board's role is to provide a recommendation to council regarding the approval of the contract between the city and the Alameda County Library. This usually occurs at the May meeting of the library board before the beginning of the new fiscal year. And a little bit of background on funding. The Albany Library is a branch of the Alameda County Library and is open to the public a total of 41 hours. Of the 41 hours, 25.5 hours are contracted by the city with the county at a cost of $725,440. The cost of the contract is funded by 2 City of Albany library parcel taxes, and this is the contract for this fiscal year. Albany levies 2 special taxes that were approved by voters to fund this contract. In June 1994, Albany voters approved the Library Service Act of 1994, which currently assesses a $69.22 per year tax on single-family residential parcels. In June 2006, Albany voters approved a supplemental parcel tax, which is currently established at $28.36 per single-family unit. The total for both measures is $97.58. So both measures contained no sunset clauses and provision for annual adjustments based on changes in the Consumer Price Index. So that's what I have as far as background and information on the charge of the library board.
All right, so we'll move on to, unless there's any commentary.
Yeah, comments, public comments or
Jen.
So
questions?
the funding for the remaining 15 and a half hours of the open hours per week are funded by the county?
Yes, yes.
And I think it's my understanding that the parcel tax, even though we can raise it, we haven't.
We have not in the last few years,
A
I think,
while.
because the what we're collecting covers the
Right.
cost of the contract and leaves a good enough balance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we will have more information on that at the May meeting when the board reviews the contract and makes a recommendation to council.
All right. So now we'll have the Albany Library Report from Weta Charles, the acting Albany Library Manager. Hi, Weta.
Yes.
Forgive me if I'm a little intimidated. Okay. Hi. It's good that all of you are volunteering to participate in this. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to having many conversations with you about how we should develop and expand the library. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs and services we offered during the October to December period of 2018. Albany is made up of all sorts of people, all different ages, all different backgrounds, and because of that, we offer a variety of services and programs, hopefully to meet their changing needs. And in this report, you'll begin to see of a few of the things that we're doing. So the first thing I want to talk about is Lib Cow Scheduling Software. This software was a big hit, and the reason it was a big hit is because customers now have the ability to click on a button, an app on the front page of our website, and schedule meeting room times and study room times. Over at the Albany Library, these are two things that are extremely popular. And so now we've given our customers the option of scheduling themselves. Now, the study room can be scheduled up to 6 weeks in advance. The meeting room, I believe, offers the same opportunity. The difference between the two, besides the physical space and size, is that with the meeting room, that has to be approved before it's officially scheduled. But we've had a great response, and from what I've seen so far, our response is going to continue to be overwhelming. The next thing we have new in the library are slat walls. And with the slat walls, we're able to provide and display new existing gems in terms of library material for the public to view. Sometimes we have things in the library that are extraordinary. I shouldn't actually say sometimes. Often we have things that are extraordinary. But because of the arrangement of materials, because of the variety of things we physically have in the library, those things aren't always visible. With the slat wall, we can start to organize things, display them, get the public's attention, remind them of some of the jewels that the library contains. And so we're really excited to have this. And if you don't know what I mean by slat wall, I guess if I go away, you can't hear me. They're strips of wood going across, the wall, Ours are going this way, and we can literally put flyers, we can put brochures, we can put new books, we can highlight things that are of importance or value, we can start to do theme programming, so it's kind of like a really interesting concept that we're starting to use. So we're looking forward to the response we're going to get from the public as they start to view our displays with slat wall. Next, we have the Friends of the Library book sale. Besides the wonderful support that you offer, the Friends of the Albany Library offer us tremendous support on a reoccurring basis. So this was a book sale they had back on November 4th and 3rd. I have a slight cold. And this particular book sale, they sold over $4,000 in books for us. This is a very hardworking group, a very dedicated group, and their whole existence seems to be to make information available to the Albany community. They support our programs, they support our services, they support us, period. And they do it with such, actually, I would have to say love. They love what they're doing, they love sharing, and it makes a great deal of difference. The next thing is Tuesday afternoon STEM. Now, increasingly, we, the library, and also the educational institutions want to get young children involved in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math at an early age. So as they grow, their interest in those things develop it and expand. So this is what we're doing at Albany Library. Most of that programming is being designed by Caitlin Eyre, and she's our new children's librarian. Additionally, we've had an expansion in our Toddler Time. We have lots of young families in Albany, and we've been experiencing a bit of a crunch with Toddler Time. It would come and we would be literally overwhelmed. So what we decided to do was to have more than one, see if we can manage it a bit better that way. But What's come of it so far is just to heighten interest. We have young parents wanting their kids to start growth and development things earlier. And Caitlin is totally excited to meet that challenge. So we have 2 Toddler Times now. We have Powerful Podcasting. It was a series that we had where we invited everyone, teens, adults, older adults, to participate in learning how to podcast, how to share information, and how to upload it, with multimedia and informational tools. That program was hosted by Annika Masson, our circulation supervisor, and presented by Mary Ann Baines of the Practice Space. Keeping the same theme, screenagers. Increasingly, we have many young students in the library. And sometimes it seems as though their devices are literally attached to their hips. Forgive me. We have laptops that they check out. They come in, of course, with their phones and their iPads. And we want to increasingly encourage them to look at other resources. And so this movie was about discussing the downside of, being too connected to technology. And we had an amazing turnout with this movie. We had over 125 people, a combination of students and parents as well, talking about the issue. Finally, we have Undying Well. Like I told you earlier, we have a cross-section of members who come to use our library. And so this is a series about resolving issues before death. We had 4 workshops that talked about various stages, things to consider. Each one of these workshops were also well attended, 31 participants plus. So as this report goes on, you begin to get an idea of the kinds of things that we support our customers with, the kinds of things we're interested in supporting our customers with, and their responses to them. We're ever looking for ways that we can connect with the community to strengthen our relationship with them, because actually that's why we're here. So we've done collaborations with the city in terms of United Against Hate, presenting movies at the library to foster our concern about how we treat each other, where we can make improvements. Additionally, we work with the community leaders to figure out ways we can help each other resolve problems that come up in our respective areas. Sometimes by talking to another community leader, you can find out about a more effective approach to resolving your issue than talking to your fellow colleagues. Sometimes more is better. The next thing is Albany Homeless Outreach Service. That's with Sid Schoenfeld. And he has done a great deal of work for the city to improve the services available to our homeless members. This group is literally about sharing what they know, showing us how to apply better services, when to apply support, when to ask for help. I attended the meeting as well as Ben Gomberg, who's our head of branches. He'll be talking to you in a moment. But we both found out about services, at least I can speak for myself, that I didn't know that were available. And we can share that information when some of these members come into the library that might help them, get over a hardship a lot quicker. Finally, we have the Albany Film Fest. And we partner with Albany to give movies periodically. They're always well attended. We provide popcorn, a little beverage, water, a light soda, and it's actually a good family event. We have a strong turnout with these. Most of the movies are classics. We have some documentaries. We have some, I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, but these are conceptual movies, but they're all well attended. And the final section, before I get to statistics, is talking about other initiatives that we participate in the community. Healthy Homes is a program that Alameda County has that speaks to residents about how to repair their homes at low cost, effective but low cost. English Forward helps community members practice and learn English. It's done in small groups to provide them with the support they need. The Wali Dance Program is, once again, we're trying to touch base with different segments of the Albany community, and this is the Indian community. And this is something that they celebrate every year. So it's a way to expose one group to another group. And you learn that way. You know, by diversifying, you improve your environment, because there's also always something to be learned from others outside of your sphere. So the final thing I'm going to talk to you about really quickly, and I know this is going really fast, is our statistical report. So all of you, that's on the second page. So what we're doing is comparing this quarter with last year at the same time. The number of items borrowed has increased. This year we have 79,092 items borrowed versus 71,979. The number of visitors is roughly the same, 53,461 this current period and 54,696. Daily visitors, 703 this year, last year 659. Computer use is well up because it's a service that we provide for those who don't have access, and the library is all about providing access to resources. So we have 5,102 this quarter versus 4,040. We're also experiencing a rise in e-use devices. We have laptops and other electronic devices available in the library. We're just starting to track that, so we can't tell you what it was previously. Meeting room use, because of that little app, is up. We have 146 requests for meeting room use versus 28 last year. Our number of volunteers has increased significantly. People like being in the library, they like serving, they like giving back, and we see that in these numbers. Our volunteer hours are 281 this year versus 169 last year. Our adult programs are increasing for adults as well as children. Finally, we're beginning to spike for a difficult group, teens. Teens are a changing landscape. What they're interested in one moment, they may not be interested in the next moment. It's not necessarily bad, it's just what it is. And so it's our job to keep them interested in the services and programs we offer and show them how participating in those things can actually make a positive improvement in their lives. So for program attendance, it's roughly the same. It's 4206 this year versus 4409. So I think we're beginning to make a significant difference in terms of what we offer in the library, but we're always looking for other opportunities. So we welcome your suggestions. And finally, what I want to talk about is what's coming up next quarter. We have Albany Reads, which is in the process. We're planning it. It's going to be a little different than it has been previously. We're going to feature a number of authors. We've also re-added Brown Paper Bag, which was a lunch series where we had various people come at lunchtime and talk about a variety of things. This week, we had Bob Lewis come in and talk about the birds of the bay. We thought we would only have maybe 25, 30 people, and so we're going to have to change our venue for this. We had over 100 people come to this event, with several politely telling us that we should change our venue so others would have the opportunity to attend. And finally, we're going to be changing our program slant. We're We're going to focus on women's issues, and we're going to have a series of programs that reflect women's voices. So the library is here to expand and change as our members are expanding and changing. So we're trying to do the best we can. We appreciate any suggestions you offer. And we'll keep on working hard. That's about it. Questions?
Thank you for taking the time to provide us with an overview of these programs. I'm like ready to dive in. I'm just like, I don't
Okay.
even know where to start. But some of the things that interest me the most is definitely the women's voices. I think that will be
Right.
a very good time to educate women, whether it's health and wellness.
Right.
You know, some of the things that we're seeing with human trafficking or sexual abuse, domestic violence. I think that would be an excellent opportunity to educate the community and bring them together. Another thing that I wanted to know information about was the toddler time. You said that it's becoming overwhelming, or it had become overwhelming to where you had to have two times. Can you explain a little bit more? How did that, and how is it, you know, affecting the area? Because I think if it's overwhelming, is there not enough staff or volunteers?
Well, we do have volunteers. We do have a reasonable amount of staff. The problem is that it's kind of like a grapevine. When one person talks to another person, and that person talks to another person, and that person talks to another person about something that they went to that was just amazing. And that's actually what we're having here. The person that does our story time, besides singing to the children, you know, she explains toys, she shows them graphic things on screen, you know, she gets them to recognize things. So it's highly interactive. And the mothers and caregivers are there participating with the children at the same time. So it's just a learning experience. And we think what's happened is that these parents want their kids to participate in this. So it's mostly people talking to each other about this particular program. So it's not unusual to have 75 people in toddler time each time.
Okay.
So, and these are, like I said, Albany has a growing family, or it seems to us that it does, and they have young kids, and they want them participating early and frequently in library programming, so they bring them.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't thought about using, you know, the community center across the way, but I suppose that's a thought.
Right, I was getting ready to say, you know, have you decided to change the venue? Because, I mean, I guess my concern is I just want to make sure that all the kids are
Right.
taking an active, or playing an active role in toddler time. So
Right.
if it's in a small area, then what can we do to expand? Or, you know, if we need more hands-on with the toddlers, what can we do in that area as well?
Well, so far what we do, we have one librarian who's actually leading toddler time, and then we have other librarians who come in and provide support, and or pages that come in and provide support. So no one is unattended, but it is positively intense. The kids are having a great time, and their parents seem to be as well. So change of venue might be a thought.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
One is that I used to attend a poetry series at the library, and that doesn't seem to be happening anymore, and I wondered if there were any plans to reinstitute that in the future.
Well,
I know it's tricky because you need somebody to facilitate that.
that's true. There were a number of challenges with the poetry series. although it was extremely popular and we had a strong attendance, we didn't always have the kind of communication we wanted to have with the person who ran the program. So sometimes there would be hidden challenges that we would find out literally moments before the programs were to start. And so what we're doing is bringing back poetry on a gradual basis, like having an event once a quarter and building on that to see if we can kind of reformat it to make it work for all parties involved.
That sounds like a good plan. Okay, another question I have had to do with community outreach. So I see that there's a lot of outreach with other organizations sort of centered around issues. I was wondering what kind of outreach there is with the school district and how the library conceives of its relationship with the school district. Maybe Ross can answer
Well,
that
if
question, too.
if you train young minds to participate in library programs, environments at an early age, you've got a user for life. At least that's my belief. And so, having said that, Albany Reads has been one of the ways that we've built a relationship with the junior high and high school. And with that program, we select with them a book that's featured for the whole community to read and analyze, and we bring authors on to talk to all of these groups about the books, and we exchange information. So that's been one way we've had an outreach with those various groups. We also have book clubs with, at the junior high school level for sure. I'm not sure about the high school level, where we actively participate with readers. Going forward, I think there's something called First Search, I think at the high school level, where 8th graders are required to do a research project.
The iSearch.
iSearch, thank you. Thank you for the correction.
And
I
that's
have a
at the
ninth
middle
grader.
school.
We just
Okay, it's
finished
middle
that.
school? Okay. And the thought is that we, the library, will participate in that process with the school librarians. And it's not to say that the resources at the school are not adequate, but the resources that Alameda County offers the library are moving toward extraordinary. So we want students to know that there are a number of resources that they can actively use on demand, provided they have a library card. They can access those resources 24/7. They can come and talk to us about how to use the resources. We do have orientations for that. Or they can talk to us over the telephone. So we can help with building that relationship by simply participating in that project. Specifically, there's the thought that we would go over and give some orientations to the classes that are requiring these particular projects. So we could talk at first to the instructor to get a good feel about what the workshop should show. Then we could show the students the resources that we have available to support them in completing the project, how they answer the questions, show them how to evaluate information, and how to put that information in a meaningful format once they've located it. So we have thoughts about extending out, and we're in the process of moving in that direction.
Is there any outreach to teachers who are in charge of the curriculum in finding ways that the library can support other aspects of the curriculum beyond the iSearch? Like, for example?
Not yet,
Yeah, okay.
but that's on the horizon. We actually really do need to get over to the various schools, because we need to explain to them that information that's credible and solid comes in a number of different formats. Not so much in books anymore, but definitely online and definitely accessible. We need to explain to them the value of the information, how to use it, and when to use it. We're not in competition with each other, which is a very important thing to explain. Our mutual goals are to make the students stronger in terms of their technical skills. And I believe we can do it by literally communicating. We can start that process. And we're not opposed to doing that. I've done a lot of outreach in my time being a librarian.
I mean, it seems to me as if there could be some collection development aspects of collaboration. If you're in touch with the teachers and have a better sense of how the Albany Library can sort of supplement what's available in the schools.
Well, we can definitely do it by showing them our online resources. We really have
Link Plus.
Yeah, we have well, Link Plus too, but we have a wealth of things that we offer in addition to Link Plus, although I must say Link Plus is a phenomenal tool. And just making them aware of that, maybe putting together, some bibliographies, pointing them to certain sorts of resources to be used under certain circumstances. We could clearly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think I had a question about the statistical report as well. Maybe a couple of questions there. But Ross, it looked like you wanted to say something about.
And I'm here in largest part because as a now former school board member, I was interested in better collaboration and more outreach. And I think I wouldn't at all worry about competition in that the school's budget is more or less in free fall. I mean, if they retain all of the library staffing that they have, it will be a surprise. Mm-hmm. But a whole bunch of things that have come to mind over the last year or so. First, it was always disappointing to me that the schools were looking fairly narrowly at, well, we are responsible for them from TK until they leave, after 12, and yet bemoaning not knowing how many kids are coming in towards kindergarten. And so earlier age outreach would be hugely useful, and I'd love to see the schools as involved in toddler time as you all are in terms of catching and informing families before they arrive at the schools. Second, you would likely know that Ocean View will be either replaced or heavily renovated or whatnot, and that population very much displaced, including from their library. And there's been a lot of discussions about library access for those students, including the ones who may be at the annex at the middle school, et cetera. So the whole idea of how do they get these kids to books when the sites are disrupted is going to be an issue over the next couple of years, probably starting as early as next fall. In theory, the high school annex will include a Career Tech Ed Center, a makerspace, which will be presumably used during school hours, and I would love to have the city and the library think about ways it could be used 24 hours. You all had, and I'm guessing is no longer the case, tool lending services, kind of like the Berkeley Lending Library. This would have been, I think it was like 1 day a week and very narrowly accessible.
I think the city of Albany has a tool lending.
Can it still do that?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
But if we've got a facility at the high school that could be in theory made much more open, much more often to a broader community, it might be an interesting collaboration as a resource center to be shared by the city, the library, and the schools. So if it was an issue of if the city can staff it, or if the library can make it accessible for these particular hours, it could be used by patrons, it could be used by anyone in the city, say. And then lastly, and one of my reasons for not wanting a chair position on this committee is my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter is the chair of the CMAC, so the Community Media Access Committee. And one of the issues I'd asked her to raise is the internet access issue. The library is doing a really good job. We have one of the Wi-Fi hotspots at home right now. It's going down to Fresno for the Youth and Government Conference. But the online access either on laptops or on the computers there or via Wi-Fi is a hugely useful thing. And I'm interested in seeing the library and the city and the district collaborate more in how do students get access online at any time they need it. I've seen some interesting programs like the Coachella Unified has a collaboration between the district and the local business community to give students safe access to the internet via cafes, coffee shops, et cetera, where they have essentially school-filtered internet access that the students can use, and they sort of cross-promote. The district will announce who those businesses are, the businesses will make those resources available. And I don't know the degree to which lack of access is an issue. You all might not know, but the high school does have at least a informal laptop lending program with students. So if you were a student who had no access at home, you could get a laptop from the school for free, sort of complimentary to getting a laptop in the school, in the library via the kiosk there. So I'd love to be a resource to sort of cross-pollinate the district particularly, and the libraries. We'd be happy to do that. I had one question for Isabel. Having been 4 years in a Brown Act governed body, we're not subject to the Brown Act, right?
Yes,
We
you are.
Yes.
Yes.
So I guess, so the unfortunate circumstance there means that if I've got some idea, I can't email everybody on the
No.
group outside of formal sessions,
That's
which
right.
is a real impediment, I realize. So sessions like this, or, you know, I don't know, being as open as we can to get discussions out in groups like this, and then occasional pairwise meetings and whatnot, but we can't do what I'd love to do, which is a lot of online discussion.
No. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for the ideas that you've brought up. Some of them are actually rather compelling. But we'll have to see how we can make some of those things materialize going forward. And I know we probably have certain limitations, but I'm certain where we can, we will try.
Well, and I went to the listening session that was held at the library a little while ago and raised it, and Cindy was we discussed the whole idea of this future makerspace at the high school, because I think it's a great resource that if it were only available 9 to 3 would be woefully underused. Though I was reminded one last thing, looking outside of city district and the library system, Berkeley has a baby book project. It's funded by Dolly Parton's nonprofit. I would love to see an analogous thing happen in Albany. It's not the library's job to do. It's ideally some idealistic high school kid's idea to do or something. But essentially it's a program where the nonprofit in Berkeley gets a lot of funding to distribute books to young kids, I think up to age 5 maybe, where for some amount of local dollars, the nonprofit supporting it kicks in a lot more. I think it's like $15 per kid per year. They get a book a month in the mail. It's a great way to leverage someone else's interest in getting books into the hands of kids. And I'm going to be looking around for ways to find folks that might want to launch something, either for Albany or for maybe a larger regional area. But Berkeley's got one that's up and going.
Well, librarians love to share. We love to talk. So, we're not opposed to going over to Berkeley Public and talking to them about their program.
Well, this is not a Berkeley Public Library program. It's a nonprofit separate from. So anybody could sort of set up a baby book club or program. It's just that someone has done so in Berkeley and for Berkeley residents. It's not a library thing per se.
Okay.
Maybe the Friends could investigate that kind of project,
That's true. Maybe they could.
given their nonprofit status.
Are there more questions?
I have more questions,
Okay.
not in the realm of collaboration. This has to do with the statistical report. So I am a kind of crazed user of ebooks, and I was wondering if the ebook lending is included in the items borrowed, or if that would be a separate statistic.
It's separate.
Is that something that you could add to this report in the future?
Correct me if I'm wrong, we can't parse it out by branch.
No.
Overdrive we can.
Right.
But the others we can't. Okay.
True.
So Overdrive is one of the ebook vendors.
Right. It's my belief. I can't tie it entirely to our library system, but it's my belief that we probably have experienced even more growth in items borrowed if we were able to do that. But unfortunately, at this time, we can't.
But we can for overdrive.
We can for
Yeah.
overdrive.
It would be great if you could add that
Yeah.
with kind of the proviso that it doesn't include all ebooks. I'm also curious about the e-device use. So besides laptops, what are some of the other devices that are being used? And does that include lending things, as Ross was talking about the high school is lending laptops, or is this just devices that have been logged into the library network?
Well, there are the laptops. There are also things that we check out, probably like the hotspots. So it's a mixture of things
So you check out laptops?
for use in the library.
Okay, in
Yeah.
the library.
Yeah, for use in the library.
But you don't check out Kindles or anything like that? No.
Well, initially, they were checking out iPads, but it's my impression, and I don't have this officially, that they weren't as well received as the laptops. So there may be a thought to rethink that.
Okay, great, thanks. And can I just also say, I think some of the increases in the numbers are amazing with the number of items borrowed and the number of programmings. I'm really impressed by that. And I had one other question that had to do with the teen programming and probably also collection development for teens. You alluded to there being a difficult group, and I'm assuming that that's because their interests are shifting really rapidly.
Yes.
Like, maybe last year they were interested in Minecraft, and this year they're interested in Fortnite or something like that.
Yes.
Is that the kind of problem we're looking at? So my question about that was, what does the library do to kind of keep up with where the interests have shifted? And is that something that the teen, Becky was mentioning that she's on
We
the
talk
teen
to them.
library board. Is that what that body is for?
That is largely what that body is for. Without talking with them, it makes it a little hard to anticipate the changes, the trends, and also testing various programs to see what the response is. At times, talking to their parents, possibly going to their events, and kind of mingling with them, trying to get a sense of what's valued. So it's a challenge, but it's a challenge we're determined to meet because they're our future.
Becky, is there anything you want to say about the Teen Library Board? Because I wasn't really aware of that before I joined this board, so.
Yeah, it only started around the September, and there hasn't been any recent meetings, but from what we've discussed, middle school kids are really interested in hanging out with their friends, so they're really interested in having separate hangout groups within the library and having their own scheduled spaces. And personally, for me, I feel like high school students would be really interested in things like SAT prep or
Right.
tutoring. I feel like a lot of kids, especially in Albany, are really academic focused.
Mm-hmm.
So having more academic resources to help with maybe AP classes or honors math, that would really attract some kids.
Well, we hadn't expanded our program to that extent that we were going in that direction. It has been discussed. We are actively programming for SAT prep and essay writing for, the college application. And during those times when we have those workshops, we heavily survey the students that come to get a sense of what else they need. And from that, we've learned there, some issues with, time management and prioritizing. learning about resources online that might strengthen them in certain areas. But that's something that we can definitely explore. We're not opposed to it.
Now, is that something you think you would have year-round, or?
Oh, you have
just-
to have it year-round.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Just to make
what,
sure.
the SAT, those exams are offered at least 4 times a year, if
Right.
not more.
Okay.
And, of course, it's been a while since I took any of those exams, but I wasn't particularly gifted the first time, and I know I had to take it more than once. And so I tend to think that, most students will probably need to take it more than once and will probably need to prepare more than once. So we do offer it, or we're starting to offer it multiple times during the year right before the exam period. We also have, traditional books that they can check out to go over particular sections of the exam. We have online resources as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, of course, I can't remember it. Learning Express. Learning Express offers support with those particular exams, but you need a library card. If you're going to do it away from the library, if you're going to do it inside the library, I believe you can access it without a library card. But they need to be orientated toward using those resources, and that would be a great instance where going over to the high school or the junior high, where whatever is appropriate, it would make sense to do that and orientate the instructors and then the students.
That's a good idea.
Can I ask one more question about outreach? I think we've talked a lot about outreach to younger people in the city, but I'm also wondering about whether there's outreach to the senior center.
There has been. We've done a number of workshops where we're going over and showing them how to use some of our e-resources, and particularly our e-books and our e-audio, a limited amount of e-video. But we've also attempted, and we're still working on it, to develop workshops where we actually get them to come over to the library. But we're not opposed to going over and visiting them as well.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, sorry, my thing fell asleep. Up next is Ben Gomberg, the head of branches, for an update on the strategic planning process.
Thank you, Ida. Good evening, board members, and just my thanks as well for providing your time and your interest and passion in working with the library and with the city on this board. And it's really wonderful to see all of the engagement and your good questions about the activities the library has and where we might be going next. My role is part of the library's administrative team, and I supervise the operations of 6 libraries throughout the county. And so my role in this board is really representative of the library administration and what our work is. So what I wanted to update the board on this evening first is about the library's strategic planning process. And so this is how the library is attempting to position itself as a provider throughout the county for the next several to many years. We've been working both with a pair of consultants as well as a large number of our own employees and community members. So we've gone through about a 9-month phase of discovery, as we described it, which included quite a few public meetings, a large online survey, some individual interviews, as well as small group conversations. And that took place in every one of the communities we serve. So we received a huge volume of feedback about what the library is doing, as well as thoughts about where each community is headed, irrespective of the library, and thoughts about what the needs are throughout the county. So trying to parse all of that information, as you can imagine, is a process. So we're in that process now of strategy for what the initiatives of the county library will look like, and hope to have that moved into how we are going to develop our initiatives and really create this plan over the next several months. So I'm hoping that by spring we should have a good amount of information to share back out to the community with everything we heard and where we want to see the library going for the next few years. And it's a very exciting process for us. This is the first time we've done a really involved strategic plan this way, where we have really tried to get the pulse of the community and look outward as opposed to inward. And we're seeing that there are a lot of areas that the library is already involved with that show up as strong ideas for where we need to continue, and some other areas that we haven't developed as far that are opportunities for us. So one, and I think Board Member Stables and Gray mentioned this, is looking at not just makerspace as an idea, but innovation and how the library can partner with organizations and individuals that are doing innovative work. We have in Alameda County, a strong community in advanced manufacturing, particularly in the South County, but we also have a large history, particularly in Albany and other parts of the county that are towards the north, that is, pretty dissimilar. And so we need to really have a lot of conversation about what works in which community. And I think worth mentioning to the board which communities Alameda County Library serves, because it may not be readily apparent. So Albany is a bit of an island for Alameda County Library. The closest library that is operated by the county to this one is the San Lorenzo Library, which is about an entire 2 large cities away from here. 3 large cities away from here. So our sites, though, are the San Lorenzo Library, Castro Valley Library. Those 2 are part of the county unincorporated area. The Dublin Library, Newark Library, Union City Library, and then we have a Fremont main library for the city of Fremont, as well as 3 neighborhood libraries within the city of Fremont. So there are a total of 10 buildings, a bookmobile, and many other services that hopefully we'll be able to discuss at future meetings. But for now, our strategic planning process is really well underway. So for the board, I think there's not an ask for you this evening in terms of being involved with this plan. However, I think as we move towards communicating it out to the community, your interest in it and your help in communicating, what the library is positioned to do and focused on will be really valuable.
Great. Thank you,
Questions about our strategic planning process? More to come on that.
All right, thank you, Ben. Stay where you are, though. So you can tell us a little bit about the Alameda County Library Advisory Commission, which we refer to as ACLAC.
Yes. Not to be confused with the insurance provider. So the Alameda County Library Commission, I'll tell you a little bit about their most recent meeting. However, as an introduction to the commission itself, the commission exists to advise the county library in a similar way that this board advises the city of Albany. But the commission is appointed through a couple of different paths. The Board of Supervisors appoints some at-large members. Each city that the library serves appoints a member. And there are also some designated members for the unincorporated areas of the county. So if the commission were to be at its full membership, I think we'd have at least a dozen commissioners. At present, I think there are 7 or 8 seated commissioners. And 1 is needed from the city of Albany. And to give you a sense of what that commission is involved in, in addition to advising the county library, they'll receive reports on the library's activities. They'll be involved in community advocacy around potential either legislation or other library issues at a local or state level potentially. There are quarterly meetings of the Advisory Commission. The January meeting has already happened, so there are 3 meetings for the remainder of this calendar year. Each is hosted at a library or occasionally at a service partner where we provide service. So sometimes there's an opportunity to see some of the other organizations the library is connected to. And for the most part, the work that the commission is engaged in is really keeping the communities connected to the work of the county library as a whole, rather than focused on a single city or area where we do our service. So our most recent meeting, and I was not in attendance, so I only have the notes to share. There was a presentation of the library's work throughout the year of 2018, our accomplishments as we prepare that for the county budget cycle, and some discussion about future meeting locations. So some of the suggestions included Reach Ashland Youth Center, which is a county-operated facility in Ashland, which is unincorporated San Leandro area, that serves residents of the county ages 12 to 24 and provides a just wide variety of services, including actually on-site dental and medical care for their members. The library's operated there since Reach opened, and so the commission had an interest in seeing that facility. So potentially going there at a future date, and or the Juvenile Justice Center, which is another facility where the library provides service that is in Mid-County. Often with the commission, there's an interest in finding locations in the middle of the county to prevent excessively long driving by any individual member. So the remainder of that meeting, this was hosted at the Newark Library. There was a discussion from the library manager at Newark about the city's plans for a new civic center, which will include an updated library facility, and that's set to open at this point at the end of 2020. So construction should start soon, we hoped, as well as some of the activities happening at the Newark Library. So the commission will often receive reports from the site where they are visiting that meeting. Cindy Chadwick, the county librarian, shared information about the library's strategic plan, not too dissimilar from what I just shared with you all, and discussed some of the upcoming activities for that. And there were a few questions from the commissioners, and that was pretty much the content of that meeting. So the Library Commission is an opportunity to learn more about the overall workings of the county library, and is, however, an extra commitment on top of this one. I can, if the board is interested, share when and where the next 3 meetings are for this year before you would like to make your recommendation to appoint someone. That would be helpful.
Please.
Let me pull that up here. So, nope, I did it on my phone. Okay, so the April meeting, yep, lost it here. One moment, please. Okay, the April meeting is going to be held at the Union City Library on April 3rd. That's a Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. It will always be a Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. The July meeting is July 10th at the San Lorenzo Library, and the October meeting is October 2nd at the Castro Valley Library. And Castro Valley and Union City are both fairly BARTable.
So at this time, basically what the board would do is make a recommendation for one member to be part of the ACLAC to the city council, and that recommendation would be at a future council meeting. And once that person is approved by the council, then could attend the 3 meetings.
Or if there are
of
any
that class.
questions about that work.
Any questions from anyone? Does anyone have any interest in?
I do.
Oh, nice, great. Any other interested parties?
I know that the previous representative was Cynthia Hegedus,
Yes.
who's also a librarian, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
If you can do it as well, more than fascinating opportunity to learn more about the county library, how everything works together, the challenges of the county library.
I would just ask if you would like to make a comment to the, no, you can, but if you could just,
And I'm not on the list.
no, you can as a public comment. As under public, yes, yes.
So just to reiterate, if any of you do have the interest, Amy, thank you so much for putting that out there. But it's a fantastic opportunity to learn about the inner workings of the county library, the challenges that the county library has to face because of the huge range of population and needs within the county. A lot of the county is very dissimilar to Albany, and the county library has to meet everybody's needs. But it's a fabulous opportunity for any of you to do that, and if you can, I would highly recommend it as an enriching experience.
Thank you.
Is it a year long? Or do you?
that's a year-long commitment, is that correct, or is that a?
Yes, you can choose to have it for the year or for the 2-year term. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe you can revisit the nomination at the end of 2019, and if somebody else wants to take a turn, or if you'd like to continue, then the board can make that decision at that time.
And the meetings, are they open to the public? So if we all
Could all
wanted to
go.
get on that, we could take a field trip together. Well, I would move to recommend that the city council appoint Amy as our ACLAC representative.
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Oh, all those in favor.
Aye.
All right. Yay. Thank you, Amy.
Another commitment.
Well, you missed the January meeting, so, only 3 to go. All right, so our final action is the work plan. So we're going to review our current work plan and begin discussion on potential items for inclusion in our next 2019-2020 work plan in support of the council's strategic plan. So in the packet, you should find a copy of the 2017 to 2019 work plan.
And I would suggest that for tonight, just a review would,
Yeah.
and then the council will be updating their strategic plan on Tuesday.
Okay.
And then you, at your next meeting, you'll have the formal strategic plan approved by
Okay.
council to work from and be able to refine your work plan.
Great. And so we would make updates maybe at our next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But if you have any update, like if you, because you have been on the board, if you have any updates that you'd like to share with everyone at this time, that would be great.
No, I would say that some of our initiatives carry over year after year, namely the first one, which is our most important task, which is advising the city council on the contract that we do in May. So that's really crucial. In the time that I've been on the board, we did add the initiative to advocate for state or national library issues as appropriate. That was a newer one. But I think this is an opportunity for us to formalize what we're interested in doing to support the relationship between the city and the library. So one thing that I might want to add or think about is something that that was a community member sent to our previous staff liaison, which was the idea of keeping the library open 7 days a week, which would be, if we put that on our work plan, it would be something that we would just investigate, is my understanding. So that might be one thing that I would be interested in investigating. Any questions on our work plan or comments?
So in terms of extending the hours, that would be adding services on Fridays?
Well, we would, yeah.
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 Friday seems to be the main time when I receive pickup notices.
It's like, psych.
I know, but I can't go.
And I've been in the same boat, and the idea of maybe you have just somebody who can come up to the window and bring the hold books out, which is a pretty low demand sort of a thing, but, or we get the robot to replace the person's job. Well, I would absolutely love to have, when and as we develop a new work plan, to include the schools in some way, shape, or form. I think communication is city, school, and the library. I could particularly speak to the city and the schools is sort of woefully under-attended to, and would love to use my position as no longer on the school board to be a lot more vocal about how to enhance the district's ability to communicate with outside parties, and the libraries are hugely important to the schools.
Anything else from other members? Okay. So future agenda items, it seems like working on the work plan would be one.
And I'd also like to suggest a tour of the library, possibly at the March meeting. Since we're meeting here now, maybe we could include as part of the next meeting a tour, so you could meet more of the staff and learn about how the library works.
Right. And they're open until 8 on
Yeah.
Tuesdays, so that would be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could we have the meeting in the Edith Stone room afterwards?
Yes. So it could be a tour and then a brief meeting on, maybe the work plan, just talking about the work plan a little further, or even, yeah, probably that would be the best.
So when I was thinking about joining the board, I looked back at minutes from past meetings, and there seemed to be something on most of the agendas coming from the county library. Is that true? So is that something that we could ask? Is that something that we ask the library to present to us, or do they just say, hey, we'd like to come talk to you about this or that topic?
Both, and it depends on the topic. So there have been times when we've asked for specific clarity around an issue, and then other times it's more of a, kind of, informational moment.
So will there be information about the strategic planning process by our next meeting in March? Or will that follow that? That seems like one thing we could ask for a presentation on.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the standing items, are always the overview, the Albany Library report,
Right.
and then if there's an update on the strategic plan, and then you'll also, if there's been a meeting, an ACLAC meeting, then a
Right.
report on that, and then anything else that comes up that you have interest in and want more information on. Mhm. And if you, from now until the next meeting, if you think of something that you'd like to have information on, you can certainly email me and let me know, and also email the chair. Yeah, or email me through the chair. Yeah, or email me, and I'll talk to the chair, and I will talk about the next agenda and work
Right.
on building the next agenda based
So
on.
are we allowed to circulate email among ourselves to discuss what will be agendized? Okay, that's
no.
still covered by the Brown Act?
Yes, and
Okay.
the city is in the process of scheduling a Brown Act training for all committees, boards, and commissions, and I think it's scheduled towards the end of February. So by your next meeting, you will have had a training. In the meantime, you should have received a handbook as part of your, or a link to a handbook as part of, no? Okay, I'll make sure that that's done. Okay. And that explains, some of the procedures for meetings. Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Our next meeting is March 19th at 7 p.m. And if there's no further comment, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:20.